CCI is a 5-year-old firm headquartered in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. We are an SAP solution firm specializing in SAP software and training solutions for our clients. What makes CCI so special is our staff. We bring in the best and brightest minds for everything we do. We are a revolutionary in our training, education, and solution implementation because we take responsibility. What a revolutionary idea, responsibility. We are proud to be one of the Future 50. Thank you.
Up next on Focus on Diversity, Alderman Michael McGee Jr. cruises through with 64% of the vote to crush the recall election. Also, the Gay Brotherhood. And we also have our weekly update of our Mark Belling Boxing Challenge. That's up next on Focus on Diversity. It's right here. It's right now.
Focus on Diversity with Troy Shaw.
Hello, I'm Troy Shaw, and welcome to the Focus on Diversity program. Let's introduce our guest. First, we have Michael Maxwell. He is a local attorney right here in southeastern Wisconsin. We also have Karen Otteson of Karen Otteson and Associates, a consulting firm. Also, my good friend Robert Miranda of the Milwaukee Spanish Journal. Thanks for being on the program. Let's get directly into the first topic. Congressional honors. 2 weeks ago, President Bush saluted the Tuskegee Airmen 60 years after they completed their World War II mission and returned home to a country that discriminated against them because they were black. Now, there's been a lot of stories about the Tuskegee Airmen and a lot of kind of like pomp and circumstances in regards to kind of like saluting them now. But is this genuine? Do you think this is genuine, Mike?
Oh, I think it is genuine. I think it's something that's long overdue. I think that the service that they did at the time that they did it and the controversy that they faced were phenomenal. I mean, this country should have honored them the minute they got back, as we do any soldiers.
But isn't this kind of like, some people believe that this is token-oriented, that they're doing it now because it makes for good press. And it makes for, giving them, I guess, the Congressional Medal of Honor. Does it have any merit, Robert?
Well, it shows that there is a need to continue to remember history. Mm-hmm. And although I don't agree with a lot of the president's policies, I do agree with the fact that there is this need to constantly bring forward the sins of the past and remind people today, especially in a world today that is profiling people of color, Muslims and others, that this kind of societal action against people like the Tuskegee Airmen cannot be tolerated in today's world.
But even Nazis, Nazis of today's time, would even ask them back in those times as well, would ask, why do African Americans fight for a country that does not acknowledge them as human beings, Karen?
I think the interesting thing, and as Robert was saying, to kind of honor and respect history, but I think the more important thing that we focus on, what has transpired between those times, and I think 1941, Tuskegee Airmen were drafted into the military. But I think the reality is look at the forward things that have happened within the military, which as a microcosm is probably the most diverse, the most hospitable environment for minorities in terms of successful progression, the opportunities that are afforded there. So the negatives that may have occurred in a time in history in this country where there was prejudice, where there were lack of opportunities, the military has kind of progressed, perhaps even accelerated more than in other areas of our society. So I think we celebrate the things that have happened in that environment and what's occurred because of those fellows joining up, serving in the military, even though that wasn't probably the most honorable part of our history.
But there's still this apprehension with people of color in the military today. There is still a feeling that, of course, you think about the experiments on people of color as well, the Tuskegee Airmen and how they were treated. In the military, there's still this apprehension with people of color about getting in. What do you think about that, Mike?
You mean the apprehension of the people getting into the service?
Yeah,
or once
wanting to
they're
get
there?
into the service, wanting to get into the service. There is a huge effort to get more people of color into the military service, but a lot of people still are a little leery of getting in and getting involved in it.
Well, when I served in the military, the drill sergeant that I trained under was African American, the captain of the of the training division was Latino. I mean, I think that Karen's right. This is a wonderful opportunity for anybody that wants to take it, and it's an opportunity that's really not based on the color of your skin or your ethnicity. It's based on the opportunity for you to excel and do well. I think that this whole story about the Tuskegee Airmen is a refreshing example to minorities of what you can do based on your own willpower, your own abilities, your own justification. You know, these guys were given the opportunity, and they didn't rise because they were black. They rise because they were good.
Last word on record.
They rose because they had courage, and they challenged the system that was completely against them at the time. But in that apprehension that you talk about, people of color joining today's military, a lot of that apprehension is because they don't feel that they should go and kill innocent people in Iraq. For a country
that doesn't necessarily treat them with equality? Or
well, for a presidential policy that isn't really focused and has never laid out a real clear, concise plan of how to deal with that issue.
I laid out the carpet for him to get at Bush, and he was definitely about to take it. But we're going to go to the next subject matter. End of a legacy. Eddie Robinson, who sent more than 200 players to the NFL and won 408 games in a 57-year career, died last week at the age of 88. The former Grambling State University coach was a pioneer for black coaches, paving the way for other great black coaches like Tony Dungy and Lovie Smith. I mean, this guy was just absolutely awesome when you take a look at what he had gone through during that particular era of time and was able to excel. He never did say that his color was a hindrance to himself. What do you think about that, Karen?
I think a great example, I was doing a little studying on him, and some of the comments on some of the blogs from young people who had either attended Grambling. I spent a lot of time in Shreveport. You know, Grambling's just about 60 miles up the road from Shreveport. Once again, another fellow who kind of saw the opportunity, as what I read in the article in testimonies to him, was that he had nothing. He had no resources when he went to Grambling. There was no budget. He lined the field himself. He made, lunch meat sandwiches to take the guys on the road. The number of young men who were impacted, and I wish we would focus more on the Eddie Robinsons, and some of the great players, but he left a legacy in sports and with athletes that sometimes today we kind of look and see, where are the heroes like the Eddie Robinsons?
And we're running short of time because I really want to get your take on it as well, Mike. What do you think?
Well, I think he's a phenomenal coach. He's a phenomenal person. I think the example that he set by telling his players that it's not just enough to be good at your sport, you have to be good at being a person. You have to be good in your education. That's why you saw so many of his players go on to success ultimately. I think he had a huge impact on the people.
He never made a point of color, and never made really a point of race in any of his kind of like speeches to his players. I mean, what do you think about that?
Well, he knew it was an issue, but he advanced his actions, and his actions spoke a great deal of his commitment to succeed, and that's the example he gave his people.
A great career for a great person, Eddie Robinson. We salute you. And when we come back, we'll have more of Focus on Diversity. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Esperanza Unida means United Hope, and by donating your used vehicle, you can provide hope to someone in need. Esperanza utilizes your used vehicle in the effort of teaching auto repair. It then sells these used vehicles at affordable prices to low-income individuals from the community, providing access to reliable, affordable transportation. The revenue from these sales also helps to pay for job skills training and job placement services. So donate your used vehicle and give hope to someone in need.